good enough. I don't need to be angry. I don't need to get ranty because I don't think that helps any conversation about anything. They're not good enough. And when I look around social media today and I follow people who are very pro Ollie, even they are saying this. The coaching is not good enough. And we said it in the summer. We said it after the Europa League final. They're not good enough. What needs to happen over the summer is they need to go and do a course. They need to go and shadow a proper coaching setup. They haven't done it. They've been on their holidays. They've come back. It's high five. We're back again. What we're doing this year, same thing. There's no progression in the tactics. That last night, I couldn't believe we picked Van der Beek, Pogba, Bruno, Sancho, and played long ball over the top of them for the first 35 minutes. I don't, and that comes from the coach. And we are more Stoke 2010 than anything. That's how Stoke used to play. Why are we playing like that? Is it because the coaches are limited? At this moment in time, I think our coaching just isn't good enough. And you can name names if you want to. Ollie said he doesn't do the coaching. But there's no more excuses for it, Ollie. You are the manager. If you don't coach, you've got to do what Sir Alex did. Mix it up. Because Michael Carrick played football, sat next to Mourinho. Mourinho left and didn't take him. He left him here and now he's sat next to you. McKenna came from the youth setup. We don't really know anything about him. Mike Phelan retired a decade ago, went to Australia, got relegated with Hull, and now he's sat back. I don't know who does what, but something somewhere in there is not good enough. And it's not nice to call it out, of course it's not, but incompetence is called out in lots of business. It's not good enough. People have got eyes. You know, I'm watching Fever Pitch on BBC One at the moment, the documentary, and a lot of it's about the early 90s and United and the football we were playing. And I'm like, we're Manchester United. We must have standards in the way that we play football. The standard of football, somebody said it last night and they're right. If Mourinho had put in a performance like that last night and he'd subbed off with 20 minutes to go, Bruno and Ronaldo for Matic and Lingard, it would have been meltdown. And I tell you what, Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, whoever was on the telly last night, they would have gone mad. We beat Juventus 2-1 and they didn't like it. But Ollie loses 2-1 to Young Boys, makes ridiculous substitutions, plays with ridiculous tactics, and people sit there and go, well, we've got Ronaldo. You know, we've got to have the standards in the football club. It's not about ranting, oh, look at the Ollie Outers, they're a bunch of idiots, or the Ollie Outers saying it the other way around. That's just toxicity, that's division. I don't want that. What I want is a proper conversation about where we are. And if people are happy with where we are, I want them to tell us why they're happy. I'm happy we've got Ronaldo. We've just come off one of the best transfer windows we've ever had. But we've just absolutely, there is, I can't find, and I've got a few things to go through, but I cannot find any other reason to say that there's no more excuses, because we've been seeing this for a long time. Most of the football last season was trash. It was just grind out results, and we're doing it again. We grinded out a result against Wolves. We were not very good against Southampton, and we've been terrible again last night. Over 50% of our games have been awful, absolutely awful, and we've only played 5. That's not acceptable. This is meant to be a really big season, and it's not acceptable. His interviews and delivery of communication is just not on the same level as Pep, Klopp, Tuchel. Everything he says is stuttered, basic, mundane, and by the book. I'm sure this translates to the players, says Ben Anderson. Only seems to know one way in Europe. Boring rubbish, says Seb Watson. It's not much better in the Premier League. I know we were down to 10 men, but I feel Pep or Klopp with 10 men would have still had a style of play and still have taken a hold of that game, says Dan Golding. Ollie out will never happen unless he chooses to resign himself. The Glazers know they will never get a coach like him. They both defend each other, says Z. But you see, there's a few things in that I do agree with. The style of play, 100%. Ollie said that at the end of the first half, well, this is what he said. This is what our coach said. And I just want to take a note of this. Oh, yeah. Sure you go. And what was the other thing there that I wanted to just come back to? Yeah, Tuchel as well. Okay, so there's something there I want to just come back onto. Mark can stop the pointing. The owners, the greedy, didn't buy as a CDM. I saw Young Boys highlight the press. Fred, we need CDM. None said, says ZA. And I'm not Ollie in or out. We're not in the Roman Empire. I'm Ollie. Serious misconduct. He's now being judged with all the tools, all the disposers, single swings, says Nick P. Mark, I'm just sick of these results. Shocking, sucking the energy and positivity out of the fans. Well, look, let me just tell you what Ollie said after the game. He said that we noticed that at the end of the first half, their wing-backs were getting forward, so effectively went to a back 5. And then he said, when you get the first goal, you think that's going to be enough to win the game. And I'm like, this is Manchester United, Ollie. Manchester United, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes on the pitch. One of those players is worth way more than their whole team. And you're looking at them and going, Karaki, we're 1-0 up, let's hold on to it. They're getting down the wing. As the person said there, if this is Manchester City and they go down to 10 men against Leipzig tonight, they're not going to go down to a back five. They won't do it. He will not do it because he's got a style of play that he works on week in, week out, and the players know methodically. If Pep Guardiola says to his team tonight, imagine De Bruyne gets sent off, or imagine Kyle Walker gets sent off, he will not say to his players at half-time, we're going to go and do something we've never done. We're going to go to a back four. We're going to make really weird substitutions, and we're going to park the bus. He won't do that. He will say, right, we're down to 10 men. I'm bringing a new right back on. Instead of having 2 up front or 2 wingers, we're going to play without one of those, and we're going to keep the same shape at the back, the same shape in the midfield, and we're going to keep the ball. That's what we're going to do. We've practiced for this in training. We know how to keep the ball. We're going to keep the possession stats up. We're going to frustrate them. We're going to make them push forward, and I'm going to hit them on the break. That's what we're going to do. That's what Pep Guardiola would do. What does Ollie do? Oh, the right back, the full backs are getting forward in the opposition. Let's go to a back five and park the bus for a whole 45 minutes. It's terrible, terrible coaching, and somebody in that team, in that coaching setup, should be telling him that. It's shocking. It's not good enough. And I liked what Nick says. This is not bloody Roman Empire with your thumb, Ollie in, Ollie out after every result. I don't care whether he's saying Ollie in or Ollie out. I just think we're better than this. And I actually, I don't think there's many people saying this. All I see this morning is Ollie in and Ollie out arguing. We won at the weekend. We've got 10 points in the league. We finished second last year. This is not sackable form. But what needs to happen is we shouldn't be behaving like Arsenal. We're Manchester United. We need to be way more mature than this. We've lost the game of football in a way that we've seen many times over the last 18 months through Stoke City 2010 tactics. That's the focal point. Why are we losing the game? Because the coaching isn't good enough. This needs calling out. And I've said this so many times. There never has been anybody in that football club who the manager is answerable to. There's no technical director. There's no director of football. That's not a director of football, Murtar. He's basically Ollie's mate and the Glazers' mate. There's nobody in that football club who has overall arching accountability and responsibility for the standards of this football club. It's just mates rates. There's no structure. And if Ollie loses that game last night, nobody's calling him in the office this morning to say, hold on a minute, Ollie, you've been playing like this for a while now. We're Manchester United. Why are we playing across the back four and hitting long balls? That's why we lost, Ollie. You're not getting the best out of these players. You need to look at your coaching. That conversation should be being had with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this morning. There should be some pressure put onto him this morning that that's not good enough. It's been happening too many times, and it's clearly why you can't win trophies. It's clearly why we won't be getting into a title race. You've got all the players. You've got one of the best squads in the world, and you are putting out Stoke City 2010 tactics, and everybody can see it. And I'm not telling you you're going to get sacked, Ollie, but I'm telling you now, if that happens again, you're going to get more pressure on you. This is not acceptable football with the material you have in front of you. That conversation would happen at Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. It's not going to happen at Manchester United because it doesn't happen. It didn't happen with Mourinho and it didn't happen with Van Gaal. What happened is they put up with it, then it starts becoming Jose out, Van Gaal out, and then they sack them and they bring someone else in. They don't spot the danger now. The danger is there. We all know this danger is there. We've seen it time and time again. Poor tactical decisions, poor coaching, poor style of play. A football club like Manchester United should not allow this toxicity to build in the fan base where you've got a lot of people Ollie out, you've got a lot of people Ollie in. They're arguing with each other and it will just be bang, bang, bang until one wins. And what will ultimately happen is, and I've called it before, we will not finish outside the top four because it's impossible, but we won't win the title. And we'll have this constant toxicity about the coaching's not good enough, but they do enough to get top four. That football club needs somebody in it to actually pull Ollie aside from a footballing side and say, that's not good enough, that's not what Manchester United is. Because that's something everybody agrees on. So for me, it's not about Ollie in, Ollie out. It's about the big problem at Man United, and we saw it with Mourinho and we saw it with Van Gaal. There is nobody above the manager with the authority and knowledge and know-how to say What are you doing? If you continue with this, you will lose your job because you are not playing the United way, and there's a lot of money and there's a lot of talent in that squad being wasted with tactics that look like you should be playing in League Two. And that's the bottom line. And until we start getting so angry and cross and toxic with each other, we're never going to have that conversation. Fans should be able to say, and I woke up this morning, I'm like, I'm going to call this out. That football is abysmal. I've seen it too often and I don't want to see it anymore. And I'm going to keep calling it out. And that's what I'm going to keep doing until it improves. But God, it can improve. It can improve. It could improve against West Ham. You've got Bruno, Ronaldo, Pogba. You've got proper footballers. We could change this very easily. It could be done tomorrow. You know, he could bring a coach in tomorrow and revolutionise it. Why, Ollie, my message to you would be, why are you jeopardising losing your job? There is a growing toxicity in this fan base, and it will be growing more last night, who say Ollie out. Now, for me, I don't agree with that, but I think that you are going to lose your job if you keep doing this, because people are frustrated. Even Ollie Inners are frustrated. Your football's not good enough, mate. There is no excuse about fine margins, up and downs, progress. It ain't good enough. It's just not good enough. It's really embarrassing what you are doing with the squad that you've got, and you've been doing it for 18 months. You need better coaches, mate. Your coaches aren't good enough. You trust them, they're your mates, they're not good enough. They can be good enough, or you can get somebody else in. But big decisions need to be had, because if I was the coach of Manchester United last night, I would be sat here in the morning and saying, why are we playing like that against a team like that? Why am I having to go in front of the press and make up stupid excuses about fine margins when we've absolutely shit all over the Champions League last night and everybody can smell it? It was awful. It was absolutely awful. And then I wake up this morning and I see people going, you know what? We're still a work in progress. I still think we're going to get it right. I tell you what, one word, Ronaldo. We're not a work in progress. Why was Jesse moved to holding midfielder when Fred came off? Awful mistake, but I hope it doesn't knock his confidence. Shouldn't have been put there, says Ellie. Look, I've not mentioned Jesse Lingard as a problem in this at all. I've actually not gone in any player because I think it was abundantly clear that the issue in that game was the tactics from minute one. It was an embarrassment, and that's where the blame should lie. The players looked confused. They looked lost. They looked like they hadn't played together. It was awful. Jesse Lingard's not a centre midfielder. It was a silly mistake. I think Jesse's going to realise his mistake very, very quickly, that he should have gone to West Ham. I mean, that's another point. He's got too many attackers. I mean, that's why it's messy. Have you ever played like Football Manager or FIFA and you go a bit mad in the summer transfer window and you buy like 4 attackers, 4 wingers, 4 number 10s. The season starts and you realise, shit, these players aren't getting injured. They're not getting tired. How am I going to play all these players? We saw it yesterday. Martial comes on for 5 minutes. Lingard comes on. Sancho goes off. Van der Beek goes off. You know, Rashford's coming back. He's got too many. Cavani's going to come back. He's got too many attackers. And I actually think as well, here's an interesting point for you. Adrian says, why is the biggest club in the world a training ground for a clearly average coach? Man United needs a manager who's big enough to manage the squad. And Ollie's job is to improve players' decision-making. If Ruben Diaz played long balls under no pressure like Lindelof was yesterday, Pep would stamp it out, says Sam. Well, look, you know, my fear now at United, and I would ask you this question, we've seen it before. Remember when he lost to Istanbul? This is something to be worried about. When we lost to Istanbul last year, another embarrassing loss, 2-1, or was it 2-0? We lost anyway. That was when we spoke to Pochettino. And Ollie then went on an amazing run where he never really changed his team again. He stuck with the same 13 players and he ground out results. My fear now is he's going to do it again. You know, he's had his Istanbul right at the start of the season, and now he won't rotate at all. I mean, I think I'm not talking about Donny van der Beek this morning. Donny van der Beek is finished. Absolutely finished at this football club. Get out, mate, as quick as you can. You've got to look after yourself. I really wish you'd worked out at United. I think you're a talented player, and I think you needed a run of games that you never got. But I ain't wasting any more time on this conversation. He played well in that first half, and he gets substituted. And everybody who says Fred's a good player, look, I want Fred to be a good player, but your standards at this football club are abysmal. Apparently Fred played well last night, so being knocked off every 50-50 ball, passing sideways, and putting in another subpar performance, that's a good performance. I mean, we're basically now applauding Fred because he wasn't total shit. I mean, the standards in this, I don't actually understand what people want. Do they just want to buy Ronaldo shirts and cheer, mediocrity? Oh, we beat Newcastle up the weekend, that'll do for the week. It doesn't matter that we used to young boys. And I'll say it again, I started supporting Manchester United when Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge. That's my football heritage. That's my football education. That man was a firecracker on the touchline and in press conferences. That man set the standards. He was aggressive, he was passionate, he was relentless, and he wanted to win. If that comes across to you, if I come across to you as being, too demanding, wanting too much, then that's where it comes from, and that's where it comes from for a lot of people. You've let your standards drop to a level that I think is embarrassing. If you think that people like Fred are good enough for United, if you think last night we just brushed it off, if you think the football's good enough, if you think there's a reason to be happy, then that's up to you. Things, we've got 10 points in the league, things can change around, but whatever happens this season, even if we go and win the Premier League and people go, look at the moaning after the Young Boys game, nothing will change the fact that that was an embarrassing result for Manchester United. Nothing will change the fact that the tactics were abysmal. Doesn't matter if we go and win every single game and win everything. Maybe if we do that, then maybe last night's going to be the catalyst, because we cannot keep playing like that. And every United fan should be saying that. Last night, if you know anything about football, forget the Wan-Bissaka the sending off. Before that, all we did is pass it side to side and hit long balls. It was an embarrassment. We brought in a pro for set piece coaching, and we can clearly see the progress. Imagine the team with better coaches. And Anth, yeah, I think we just need better coaching. I was in a really bad state mentally last night just because of the game. The truth, passion and patience showed by you post-game really uplifted me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, says Bengali. I just think we need to be less... You know what? There's a lot to get through this morning, but the one thing I wanted to get out this morning was this. No matter what you feel this morning, and, United stand community, everybody's got a right to an opinion. That's what it's all about. But no matter what you feel this morning, you need to resist the temptation to just lose the plot. Because I'm telling you now, the way businesses work, whether it's HSBC, whether it's Tesco, whether it's Manchester United, if they see angry customers, they'll just go, they're angry. They're just angry, right? You've got to be better than that. You've got to be composed. You've got to be constructive. And, screaming and shouting and getting Ollie out trending. As I said, he's just finished second in the league. He's got 10 points and there's loads of Champions League to go. Plus, they've spent more money on him than they've ever spent on anybody. Plus, the Glazers like him because he's a barrier to them, because he's an ex-United legend. What we need to do is exhaust every possibility with this, because he's not going to get the sack. I'm going to tell you now, he's not going to get the sack. He's not even close to getting the sack. So what you need to do is stop focusing on these extreme arguments of Ollie in and Ollie out, and look at what actually happened and go, that football's not acceptable. It doesn't need to be obsessively Ollie in or obsessively Ollie out. What it needs to be is call out the issues. Why is Van der Beek being treated like that? Why are you making substitutions like taking Bruno and Ronaldo off with 20 minutes to go in a game you need to win? And why are you playing like Stoke City 2010? That's the thing for me. Why are we playing like this? It's not acceptable. And look, it needs to come from ex-players, it needs to come from the fans, and it needs to come from the media. Unfortunately, nobody in the press conference after the match yesterday said to Solskjaer, You've promised Donny van der Beek game time. You wouldn't let him go to Everton where he'd be a first team player. You started him tonight for 45 minutes. He's one of your better players, and then you've taken him off. What's going on there, Ollie? They don't dare ask that question. They haven't got I don't think they've got the tactical nous in the journalist world, because I've never seen it, to actually ask a question like this. You're playing young boys, you're Premier League second place, you've got players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho, Paul Pogba, and for the first 35 minutes before the red card, you're hitting countless long balls. Do you not feel you should be using your players that are better on the ball to pass and move and make and create chances that way, Ollie? He wouldn't know how to answer that. It'd be a brilliant question. Why can't we get a question asked about the tactical side of United? Because that's what I want to see. I want to see that more than... I don't want to see Ollie out, because it's just lazy. It's the Arsenal thing. I don't want to see the Ollie out. I want to see journalists, ex-players, fans talking about why for 35 minutes we played long ball against a team where we've got our own team full of ballers. Why is it Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, even teams below us, Brighton, can pass and move, but we can't? Harry Maguire and Lindelof just hitting long balls. Why? What's that all about? That's what we need to call out. Ollie needs to be called out on that, and Ollie needs to feel the heat on that, and he needs to be told about that. And if you are high ranking in Man United, you need to pull him in the office and question him about that. Give him a warning. Give him a warning about the football that he's playing. Why are we playing such bad? Because I think at United there are people in there who don't understand football, who are above Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they go, we've got Ronaldo, we're going to win the league now. We've got Pogba, Ronaldo, we've got Sancho, we've got Varane, we're going to win the league now. And what they're not realising is that actually you can have all the tools and still be a crap labourer. And I think at the end of the day, all the gear and no idea is happening a lot at Manchester United. We had a better team than Villarreal and they deserve to beat us in the final. We've been beaten by a better team last night. Young boys were better than us. You know, you can't argue with that. Across the 90 minutes, they played better football. And going down to 10 men is not an excuse in the modern game. We brought in a pro for set piece, and we can have done that one from Anath. And the issue is that Ollie's been made to be more than he is, and he is a Beppe-level manager, being asked to be a Ronaldo-level manager, not good enough. But there has to be a progression. There has to be a progression at Manchester United. There does. And also, the one thing I did want to talk about is, and I've forgotten to go back on this, a few people were talking about how, you know, we're still a working... I saw somebody say this morning... name your price to let me on the show for once, says Robert McCormack. You don't need to pay, mate. I'm sure we can sort something out. The reality is that I saw this morning a few people saying we're still a work in progress. It's only one game. We're not a work in progress anymore. I'm not having this. I'm not having fine margins. I'm not having ups and downs, and I'm not having work in progress anymore. We've just bought one of the world's best ever players in Cristiano Ronaldo. He doesn't have time to waste. In fact, he's my only hope. Because I don't think he's been watching United like we have. I think he's probably been keeping an eye on the results, but I don't think he's been watching United like we have. Last night to him, I think he'll go, oh, that was what went wrong there. It's just a one-off. What he doesn't realise is it's not a one-off, Ronaldo. That happens a lot. He's our hope because he's got no time to waste. And one of two things will happen. Ronaldo will get pissed off very quickly and get things changing on the training ground. Or secondly, he'll do what he did at Juventus, where the standards drop and he goes, I don't want to be here. Don't think Ronaldo loves United enough to just let his career dwindle out. You know, he will not accept that. He won't. So if Ollie either gets this team playing well, or he will lose his job, or he will lose Ronaldo. I wouldn't be surprised if next summer Ronaldo went, if we had an embarrassing year. Because he hasn't got time to waste. He could have gone to Man City and won everything. He didn't do it because he wanted to come to Manchester United. But what he's going to realise very quickly, if we don't change how we play football, is that we're going to see more and more of those performances. We might win games, but more and more of those performances. He's going to get hardly any service. I don't think he's had much service in 2 games, by the way. He had 1 chance, really, and took it. And he had 2 chances against Newcastle and took them. So I think Ronaldo is something that we can be hopeful about. But ultimately, you've just got to play a better brand of football. We have lots of attacking players with high level skills, but with the wrong mentality from our manager. That's why all our talented players are wasted, because Ollie wants them to play safe. Mini, at the end of the day, we've got too many attackers. We've got Rashford, Ronaldo, Cavani, Martial, Lingard, Sancho, Greenwood, and I've probably forgotten others. We've got too many attackers and nothing in the midfield. And it's a problem. You know, if you I don't watch the game last night, life's too short, but you watch that first half an hour. The amount of times Fred's got the ball, passes it back to Maguire, who passes it to Lindelof, who gives it back to Maguire, who it's a long ball, trying to get Luke. I mean, it was, you know what, it makes me want to cry. The amount of times Harry Maguire was trying to hit Luke Shaw with a 50-yard pass, or Lindelof was trying to get trying to play Ronaldo in with a long ball against the low line. I'm not blaming Lindelof and Maguire, because if I was the coach and that wasn't the way I wanted to play, I'd be on the touchline going, "What the fucking hell are you doing, Victor?" But that they're being told to do that. That's the plan. And you know, and people say, well, you know, it's difficult to play through a team. Do you see Man City doing that?